thank you, Beth, is breaking free from block coding and getting started with HTML and CSS specifically. Quick little agenda for today. So today I'm going to do a quick introduction of who BSD Education is, who is sponsoring this webinar today, where to get started, some strategies that you can start using tomorrow in your classroom. We'll go over some sample projects that you can utilize, and then we'll open it up to some Q&A. Really quick, just to give you a little background about myself. Oops, let's jump back. Just a quick little breakdown of who I am. So my name is Allison Pedrick. I'm the Director of Education and Partner Success at EdTech Global, and I specifically work with BSD in North America. So I oversee all their customers. I do some curriculum writing, professional development. I was a former digital literacy teacher for just a little over 10 years. And I do have a master's degree in education. So really quick, I just want to give you just a little background about who BSD Education is. And if you're attending this webinar live, you will have access to a free subscription for 2 weeks. So you'll have access to the platform and all of our curriculum. Who BSD is, our goal is to enable teachers to bring real world technology into their classroom. And how we do that is through our project-based curriculum, our real world platform, training and support when you need it, whether it's a coaching one-on-one session, or maybe it's through our support channels, or maybe it's something like this through a webinar or a recording that we've done. And we think that once we put all of those three aspects together, we make a real impact on student learning. All right, so let's jump into why we're all here. So we're all here to figure out, how do we transition from block coding to text-based coding, and where do we begin? So the first thing, block-based coding is great starting place for anybody in lower elementary specifically. The block-based coding really teaches basic concepts like loops and variables, coordinate planes. And all of these type of concepts we do find throughout all of our course curricular. Block-based coding is very simple for younger elementaries, that quick click and drag, minimal typing, so we don't have to worry about their typing skills. And they get to see that satisfaction of what they've created right away. So it's a great starting point for lower elementary students. But eventually those students are going to start wanting more. And I remember when I first started teaching coding, it was for grades 2 through 5. And I remember a group of 4th grade students that came up to me and said, Ms. Pedrick, we really love that we're doing coding, but we want to do something that's a little bit more real world. We want to create games. We want to create websites. So I thought, okay, how am I going to do this? Where's my comfort zone? What do I already know about coding that I could bring to the classroom? So that got me thinking. So at BSD, we use a browser language. And if you think about a browser, your browser, you might use Firefox, you could use Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, I'm not sure if I already said that one, Safari. So we're used to these browsers, right? This is stuff that we do every day on our phones, on our computers, tablets, even on our TVs. So I thought that is a great place to start, something that I'm familiar with. So browser language is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So let's take a little bit deeper dive. What do those 3 languages mean? How do they all intertwine with each other? So I like to use the analogy about building a house. So here I have my house, just a basic frame. I've got my foundation, I've got my walls, I've got the structure of my home. So when I'm thinking about a web page, HTML is the structure of my web page. I need that content. I need to know what my page is all about. So I use HTML for my structure. Now that my house is built, Now I need to decorate it. I need furniture. I need paint on the walls. That's where CSS comes into play. So CSS is the design thinking about your site. What does it look like? What kind of fonts? What appeal am I giving it? Now that I've got my house built, my house is fully decorated. Now I need some electricity. I need to be able to turn on my TV. I want to be able to talk to Alexa. I want my refrigerator running. So when I'm talking about JavaScript, that's the interaction that I get when I'm on a web page. So if I'm clicking a link or I'm clicking a video, that makes it interactive. So each of these languages come together to create a web page or an app or a game. So today we're going to specifically talk about HTML and CSS. That's usually the nice starting point. HTML is the nice foundation to give the students, but you do need to add a little bit of CSS. Think of it like if you were going to create your resume and everything was all lined up on the left-hand side. There was no fonts, there's no bold, there's no link for you to click on. It'll look a little boring. So you need that CSS to give it a little bit of style. All right, so let's hone in on HTML. So let's say I'm creating a web page and I want to talk about the three different languages, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So if I'm creating that site, I'm going to need some sections. So I'm going to need 3 sections, right? One for each of the languages. I'm going to do that in HTML. I'm also going to create buttons and links for them to click on. Now I'm going to need JavaScript to make those active, but I need to first put them in HTML to create that structure. Then I may want to add some images, especially this house. If I want to talk about HTML, I would want to add some images and maybe some sample code. And then of course my text. So once I have all of this put together, now I have that structure or that frame and I'm ready to build on that. So in comes CSS. So when I'm thinking about CSS, now I've got to resize those images. I want to make sure that if I'm on a mobile device or if I'm on a computer, that it's very easy for the person to be able to view the images. Maybe my font. So before, when I was giving you that example about your resume, and if everything was all lined up and it had all the same sizes, not very appealing. So I'm going to want to choose some font sizes and styles, maybe bold, italic, or underline. Then, of course, I want to add some background. Maybe I want to add some color to the background or change the color of my fonts as well. And then, of course, I have to decide where everything is going to be placed. Now I will have a visually appealing website. And then, of course, at that point, if I wanted to add some JavaScript to make everything interactive, I could add that third element. One thing to keep in mind, I like to teach HTML with a little bit of CSS. Then we would take it up to the next level and do a little bit more intermediate HTML and CSS. And then I would finally add in that JavaScript. That way the students are learning a little bit of each of the languages at a time. All right, so I've introduced the 3 languages, or at least honed in on the 2. But let's talk about some different strategies that we can use in the classroom. So first suggestion is to just go ahead and do some live coding with the students. Start programming right along with them and have the students and yourself explain each of those lines of code. So for example, if I'm looking at this, in this example, I'm teaching the students how to create a heading. So H1 is the largest heading that is used in HTML. So for example, this live coding at the top would be an example of what my heading 1 would look like. And in between the 2 tags, I'm putting in what I want it to say, which is welcome to HTML. So this would be me going ahead, live coding with the students and explaining right along with them what I was creating, or even having them explain to me what they're creating. Let's take another look at that. So here is a microbit, and we have the LED lights that are working on the microbit. I have block coding over here, And then I have text coding over here. So again, the process that I would take would explain to the students what they're looking at in regards to the blocks. So I may ask them, like, what does a forever block mean? Hopefully, they would respond that anything that's inside the forever block will continue to repeat until I tell it not to repeat anymore. And what's repeating is the flashing or the pulse of the LED lights. Then I would focus their attention back to the text. Okay, so now we've talked about this forever block, but where is that in the scope of this text? So of course the students should be able to point out, well, here's my forever block. And I noticed that I have curly braces that are sandwiched with some code, and that code is indented. So these three lines of code represent these three lines or these three blocks. So a great way to be able to just take their focus from understanding how the blocks work and how it functions in the text world. Strategy number 2, just like anytime we learn new vocabulary words, or we're getting introduced to a new language, just like this, what are our go-tos? We use vocabulary cards. We put a word wall up. We play bingo. Lots of repetition, right? At BSD, we do offer some printable vocabulary cards, and I'll be sure that that link is shared with you in the comments. But great opportunity for you to do matching games. You can do bingo with them. You can turn it into a word wall. Just a great way for the students to start learning new syntax. One other thing, if you are on the BSD Education platform, we do have a built-in glossary too. So at any time you or the students need some help kind of refreshing your memory on different syntax, in this example, I've pulled up CSS padding property, which the very first card will always tell me what it is, kind of like a dictionary explanation. So padding means the space that is around the word content in this example. The second card always gives you an example of how to use that term, or in this case, padding. So great resource that's just automatically built in, great way for the students or the teacher to be able to look up any syntax that they need to refresh their memory on. And the last strategy is simply just have fun. Do an hour coding project. Let the kids just tinker and play and explore and kind of learn on their own. It's a great opportunity for all your students to be able to work at their own pace. If you have more advanced students, you can have them helping the younger students. It's just a great way to just play and have a good time learning how to code. No pressure. Absolutely no pressure. All right, let's look at some sample projects. What can you do with HTML, CS, and JavaScript? What can the students actually create? So in this project, it's a personal web page, and they're just simply talking about themselves. What are their favorite activities? What's their favorite music, sport? What's great about this project is right along with them learning how to create the web page, they're also going to be introduced to digital citizenship topics, such as what is private information? What is personal information? What should I share? What should I not share? So it's a nice piggyback lesson. So not only are they learning computational thinking, design thinking, they're talking about themselves, but they're also learning about digital citizenship at the same time. What's great about this project as well is that it can be used in cross-curricular activities. So I've had a media specialist actually use this with her older students. They were older, meaning upper elementary, like 5th grade, and they would write book reviews. So then when a student in the lower level decided that they wanted to read a book, they would go to the different web pages available, they would find their book, and they would read some reviews that other students have written. I've also seen this done where a social studies teacher uses it for the students to talk about different inventors, explorers. So there's all different ways that we could take this personal web page and gear it to any type of our core curriculum that we may be teaching. All right, taking it one step farther. So the previous project was just a single web page. This is a multi-page website. So there is going to be a little bit of JavaScript attached to this, minimal, because they want to, I'm going to want whoever is viewing my website to be able to click on the different menus. In this example, the students created a kind heart animal sanctuary. I've also seen this project done where they have created a web page or a website rather for an animal shelter. And then every week they showcase one of the animals that are up for adoption. What's great about this lesson, again, they can customize the website to make it anything that they want. It really teaches the students a lot about how to design for empathy, thinking about who is really going to be searching or looking at this website and really gearing it toward them. So it's a great opportunity for the students to work with any local organization within their community and be able to collaborate and create something that's very meaningful. Okay, so some takeaway resources from today. So, number one, one resource, if you are attending live, you will be given a 2-week free subscription. You'll have full access to the platform and to our curriculum and me to be able to help you along the way. So what will happen is after we're done with the webinar, we'll save the recording and you will receive the recording via email along with your login credentials. You will also receive some resources to our BSD resource site, including those vocabulary cards that I mentioned a little while ago. So you'll have access to that as well. Um, Anybody, regardless if you're watching this live or if you're watching this as a recorded version, anybody has the opportunity to join our Start subscription, which is 100% free. You get 4 hours of free coding projects, and I'll actually review those coding projects in the next couple of slides. So I'll go a little bit deeper into this section. For our Build subscription, you have full access to over 600 hours of curriculum, and that curriculum can be anything HTML, CS, and JavaScript, which is what we went over a little bit today. We also offer Python, so if you're in that data science domain, we also offer that. Game development, web development, artificial intelligence, emerging technologies like Web3, virtual reality, app development. So lots of different domain areas that we can focus on, and I can help you choose that correct pathway. Let's say that you're really interested and your students really need this, but maybe you just don't have the bandwidth. You don't have the dedicated instructor, the time for that instructor to teach the course. We can provide an instructor for you. This includes daytime instruction or even an after school program. So if you don't have that teacher available, or maybe you have the teacher available, but they're very novice, we will work with you in making you feel more comfortable using our product as well. All right, so here are some of those free projects that I told you about. So we have Jokes and Riddles, which is a game. So we have a little bit of game-based. We have some app and web-based activities. My favorites website and the people who inspire me are great cross-curricular activities that can easily be integrated into any core subject area. And then a great starting course, Intro to Coding with HTML and CSS and JavaScript, perfect for your new beginners, whether you're a student or a teacher, a great place for you to start as well. And then, of course, my favorite one is our AI webcam, where it's all facial recognition. And you'll see in this quick little snapshot where we're doing different masks, we're holding up different animals, and training the camera to be able to recognize faces or cats or masks in that example. All right. that is the end of my webinar. I will ask if you could please take just a minute or two to go ahead and fill out that feedback form. It's just going to make me be able to present to you topics that are of interest to you and to just make my presentations just that much better. So I'm going to pause here. I'm going to leave this screen here so that way you have time to copy that link and jump in and answer, just like I said, just a few questions. It'll only take you a few minutes. Um, in the meantime, while we're giving people time to do that, if anybody has any questions, please feel free. You can stick it in the chat. I'm totally fine too if you want to unmute yourself and ask it verbally. That's perfectly fine as well. So feel free.
Allison, we have one question.
Okay.
Does BSD offer any Python content?
We do. And actually, we're in the process right now of leveling our Python courses. So we currently have a level 1. Level 2 should be out by the end of this month, maybe the beginning of next month. So if you're definitely interested in some data science, this would be a great opportunity. The one heads up that I will give you, a lot of times people want to start Python at a 4th grade level, which is perfectly fine. Python is definitely suitable for that age. But just keep in mind that sometimes Python can be a little dry. It's not very visually appealing because it really does focus a lot on that data science portion. So a lot of times Python isn't always visually appealing. So I do suggest that you maybe save Python for maybe middle school, upper middle school, just because I would be afraid that the younger students might get a little bored because it is a little, it's not very visually appealing. But long story short, yes, we do have Python level 1 and level 2 coming out.
We have another question. Is coding and programming only for tech teachers?
Absolutely not. I work with a lot of teachers. Actually, to be honest with you, most of the teachers that I work with teach a core curriculum, like maybe they're English teachers or science teachers. I do work with a lot of STEM teachers as well, but I do feel that I feel like science, social studies, ELA seem to be really hot. They're really looking into trying to incorporate a little bit more computational thinking into their class. Um, and let's face it, okay, not everybody is going to become a programmer. Not everyone's going to become a professional coder. But in the years coming, more and more careers that are coming out are requiring those coding skills, like those computational thinking, critical thinking, problem solving, troubleshooting. Those are all skills that we need in whatever industry that we may go into. So it's definitely beneficial for the students, especially it's starting at a younger age. We all know that, they're like little sponges and they can really grasp things pretty quickly. So don't be afraid to just kind of learn right along with them. And again, anybody that is here live, I will be sending you an email with all the information for you to access your account. And remember that you do also have that option to do a start subscription. So you can get those 4 projects that we talked about, or 5 projects, I think there's 5 of them, for free. In keeping in mind that they are leveled, so you will get some beginner, intermediate, and some advanced materials so you can see the progression too. I will give you just a little sneak peek. The next webinar that is coming our way or your way is called Demystifying AI. So we're going to talk a lot about AI, particularly machine learning. It's quite fascinating. It's going to be a lot of kind of a hands-on approach. So there's going to be a lot of interactivity in that next webinar. So I will be posting that on all of our social media accounts. So definitely keep an eye out for that one. All right. I'm just going to kind of pause for about maybe 30 more seconds, see if there's any other questions that may pop up.
I think one more question.
Okay.
How much time should I dedicate to learning HTML and CSS each week?
Ah, great question. And I know that we all have a different amount of time that's allowed for us to add some new things to our curriculum. Um, Really, if you can dedicate at least an hour a week, that's going to give them a really good foundation to get started with. Obviously, if you have more time, even better. But dedicating at least an hour a week for the students to just kind of dive in, even if they're just tinkering around, that would be a great start. All right. Hopefully, everybody had a chance to fill out that feedback form. I really would like to hear your opinions on what I should do next, really. And I just want to say thank you for everybody that's attended and anybody that's also watching the recording. And I look forward to seeing everybody during our next webinar. Thank you so much.